What if the reason Taehyung cried had nothing to do with anger, betrayal, or disappointment, and everything to do with one unexpected thing Jungkook said when nobody was supposed to be listening? What really happened between the two BTS members behind that emotional moment? And why did Taehyung finally decide to speak about it after keeping his feelings hidden for so long? Could a single conversation have changed the way he saw Jungkook forever? And more importantly, what was the mysterious sentence that left Taehyung struggling to hold back his tears? Before we go any further, imagine this scene for a moment. The room is quiet. The cameras are gone. The laughter that fans normally associate with BTS has disappeared, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. Taehyung is sitting quietly, looking down, while Jungkook stands nearby without saying much. Then, after what seems like an eternity, Taehyung finally looks up. His expression changes. His voice becomes softer. And suddenly, the question everyone would be asking is no longer whether something happened between them, but what could possibly have been said to make Taehyung so emotional. What if the answer is far more heartbreaking than anyone expected? If you love BTS stories filled with emotion, mystery, unexpected twists, and moments that make you look at the members' friendship from an entirely different perspective, stay with this story until the end. And if this emotional journey touches your heart, leave a comment telling us what you think Taehyung might have felt in that moment. Press like and subscribe so you do not miss the next story. This is a fictional fan-made story inspired by the public image and friendship of BTS members Kim Taehyung and Jungkook. It is not a report of a real event, and none of the private conversations or emotional scenes described in this narrative should be interpreted as factual statements about the real people involved. The night began with something that seemed completely ordinary. There was no dramatic announcement. There was no public confrontation. There was no headline waiting to explode across social media. For everyone watching from the outside, it could have been another normal day in the complicated and exhausting world surrounding BTS. But sometimes the moments that change people are not the moments witnessed by thousands of cameras. Sometimes they happen when the cameras disappear. Sometimes a friendship is tested not by a huge argument, but by a sentence that arrives at exactly the wrong time. And sometimes tears do not come because someone has been hurt intentionally. They come because someone finally says the thing you have secretly been waiting years to hear. In this fictional story, Taehyung had been carrying something inside him for longer than anyone realized. He had become increasingly thoughtful. Those around him had noticed that he sometimes became quiet after conversations that seemed completely harmless. He could laugh with the others, smile for the cameras, joke with Jungkook, and continue working as though everything was perfectly normal. But there were moments when the smile disappeared almost immediately after the cameras stopped rolling. Taehyung knew how to hide emotions. He had spent years learning how to turn complicated feelings into a smile. He knew how to stand on a stage in front of thousands of people while carrying thoughts that nobody in the audience could see. He knew how to make a joke when the atmosphere became uncomfortable. He knew how to reassure people even when he was the one who needed reassurance. And perhaps most importantly, he knew how to remain silent. That silence would eventually become the key to understanding why Jungkook's words affected him so deeply. For months, Taehyung had wondered whether Jungkook understood him at all. It was not because they had stopped caring about each other. In fact, that was precisely what made everything more complicated. The closer two people become, the more painful misunderstandings can sometimes feel. A stranger can disappoint you, and you walk away. But when someone important misunderstands you, you can spend months wondering whether you should explain yourself. Taehyung had apparently chosen silence. He did not want to create unnecessary tension. He did not want his emotions to become another burden. He did not want Jungkook to think that every change in mood was somehow his responsibility. So he said nothing. And Jungkook, unaware of the full depth of Taehyung's feelings, continued moving forward. There were still jokes. There were still smiles. There were still moments when the two seemed completely comfortable around each other. To anyone watching from a distance, nothing appeared seriously wrong. But beneath those ordinary interactions was an invisible question. Did Jungkook know? Did he understand why Taehyung sometimes became quiet? Did he realize that some of the smallest things he did could be interpreted differently by someone who cared deeply about him? Or had Taehyung simply convinced himself that speaking honestly would make everything worse? Then came the conversation. It was not planned as some dramatic confrontation. There was no script. There was no carefully prepared speech. There was simply a quiet moment when the two finally had enough privacy to speak honestly. Jungkook noticed that Taehyung seemed different. He asked him if everything was okay. Taehyung smiled. That familiar smile. The one that could mean almost anything. "I'm fine," he said. But Jungkook did not immediately accept the answer. Maybe because he had known Taehyung long enough to recognize the difference between a genuine smile and one designed to end a conversation. "Are you sure?" Taehyung looked away. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he laughed softly. It was the kind of laugh people sometimes use when they are trying to stop themselves from becoming emotional. Jungkook waited. And that patience changed everything. Taehyung finally asked a question. "Have you ever wondered if you've hurt someone without realizing it?" Jungkook was silent. The question seemed simple, but it carried a weight neither of them could ignore. "Yes," Jungkook eventually answered. Taehyung looked at him. "Even me?" The room seemed to become quieter. Jungkook did not immediately know what to say. That hesitation was enough to make Taehyung look down again. Maybe he regretted asking. Maybe he had already said too much. Maybe he was preparing to laugh it off. But Jungkook spoke before he could. "I never wanted to hurt you." Those words were simple. Yet for Taehyung, they were devastating. His eyes became wet. He turned his face away, trying to hide the emotion. Jungkook noticed. "Taehyung." But Taehyung shook his head. "I'm okay." "No, you're not." And that was when the wall finally began to collapse. Taehyung had spent so long pretending that nothing was wrong that being directly confronted with concern became almost unbearable. He wiped his eyes. Then he finally admitted what had been bothering him. He had sometimes felt as though Jungkook no longer needed him. It was not jealousy. It was not anger. It was fear. Fear that the friendship they had built over the years was changing. Fear that growing older meant growing apart. Fear that everyone would eventually move forward in different directions and the memories that once felt permanent would become nothing more than memories. Taehyung explained that sometimes he saw Jungkook laughing with others and wondered whether there was still a place for him in Jungkook's life. The confession was painful precisely because it was so human. Nobody had necessarily done anything wrong. There was no villain. There was no betrayal. There was simply insecurity. And insecurity can become incredibly powerful when it is kept inside for too long. Jungkook listened without interrupting. Taehyung continued. "I know people change," he said. "I know we're all growing. I know our lives are different now. But sometimes I miss when everything felt simple." Jungkook lowered his eyes. For perhaps the first time, he understood what Taehyung had been trying to hide. Taehyung was not asking Jungkook to remain exactly the same. He was asking whether their friendship still mattered. And Jungkook's answer would become the emotional center of the entire fictional story. "You don't have to compete for a place in my life," Jungkook said. Taehyung looked at him. "What?" "You were never someone I was going to replace." Taehyung's expression changed immediately. The tears he had been holding back finally fell. Jungkook continued. "I may meet new people. I may experience new things. I may change. You may change too. But that doesn't erase what we have." Disclaimer: this video is a fictional, fan-made story created for entertainment purposes only. The events, conversations, emotions, reactions, and situations involving TAEHYUNG, Jungkook, and other BTS members presented in this narrative are purely fictional and should not be considered real news, confirmed events, or statements made by the artists. This content is not affiliated with, endorsed by, or officially connected to BTS, Bigot Music, HYB, or any of their representatives. The story is intended solely as creative fan content, and should not be used as a source of factual information about the personal lives or relationships of the individuals mentioned. Please do not interpret the fictional scenes or dialogue as evidence of real events.